New videos every day.
So in a past video, I asked, what is the cause of depression? I shared with you some research that I found indicating that although the drug companies and advertisements out there are leading us to believe that depression may be caused by a chemical imbalance, the biological proof behind that just doesn't exist. So a lot of you commented, and I found those comments very interesting. There was one comment in particular that I want to reply to today. Forgive me if I pronounce your screen name wrong, but FedWork replied, "Terrific vid, Psychetruth. Straight to the heart of the matter, no filler, excellent. Thank you." As to your question for us, what causes depression? To be able to answer that, we have to first define what depression is. In my opinion, that is likely just as difficult as figuring out what its causes may be. The simplistic answer is, of course, something like being sad. But there are too many qualifiers, such as how long are you sad for? Does being sad for only a short period disqualify your sadness as depression? How often are you sad for these short periods? Is the long period of depression related to a specific event? Etc. There are so many real things in this life that should make normal people feel sad. Death, war, poverty, marketing saturation, overwhelming technology, constant awful news through our corporatized media, and on and on. It could be easily argued that someone going through this world completely happy and upbeat all the time is the one who needs their head examined. Being well adjusted to a sick society is not a sign of health. But to try to come up with one short answer to your main question, what causes depression, I'd probably have to say something like an extreme difficulty in dealing with fellow human beings. Now, this could be seen as a symptom, but I think it may be closer to being a cause. There, of course, must also be the extreme difficulty I refer to, but to start in on that leads us further down the rabbit hole, which YouTube comment section is not ready for. I really appreciate that comment, and here's my reply. I agree with you wholeheartedly that the first thing we have to do is define depression. For me, depression is an emotional state of sadness or general apathy experienced in some capacity by all human beings and arguably all living organisms, myself included. Psychiatry, on the other hand, defines depression as a mental disorder, wherein the only diagnostic criteria are emotions and behaviors. There are no physical, biological tests for depression. They assume and intend for us to believe that these mental disorders are biological brain diseases. I have the perspective that depression is a normal human emotion that all of us experience sometimes. As you illustrated in your examples, environmental factors and the emotional turbulence of our chaotic lives are huge contributing factors. We all experience sadness, despair, hopelessness, social anxiety, fear of what others think, and beyond. Again, myself included. We all have varying experiences of depression, but it's still a human emotion and not a mental disease. Using the words cause and symptom further imply that depression is a biological disease. When you look up the definition of disease in the dictionary, you'll get something to the effect of an abnormal condition affecting the body. Most diseases are diagnosed with biological tests, but since you can't test for depression, and since they can't really prove that it's a disease with any physical, biological biomarker, I simply don't accept that it is a disease, and I don't accept that it's abnormal. For me, all emotions are normal and human and not a sign of an incurable disorder. To clarify, the emotional state of depression, the feelings, the behaviors are very, very real. One of the main comments that I get when I start this conversation with people is that they say, "Oh, no. My depression is real. My social anxiety is real." And I'm in no way trying to disagree with you that your emotions aren't real. I fully recognize that those emotions are very real because I experience them myself. So what I'm arguing is that having these emotions does not in itself prove that anyone has a mental disorder or physical chemical abnormality in the brain. While it's very true and experienceable for all of us that the feelings of despair and loneliness and hopelessness are very real, the idea that those behaviors or emotions are caused by an underlying brain disease or underlying chemical imbalance of the brain is just has yet to be proven, has yet to be shown. So when they are using these different drugs, one of the articles that I cited in that previous video is called Antidepressant drugs appear to work in some patients, but it isn't clear how. So by affecting somebody's brain chemistry using psychotropic drugs, it makes sense that your emotions and your brain chemicals would be affected. But just because those drugs work, and only in some individuals, does not mean that there's a chemical imbalance underlying the problems to begin with. In order for me to accept that depression is caused by an underlying chemical imbalance, I want to see that chemical imbalance. I've sat in a neurologist's office and asked him, have you, in all of your experience as a neurologist, seen the chemical imbalance that they're speaking of, or seen the biological proof that there's something different about a depressed person's brain than anybody else's brain? And he told me no. He went on to say that, he's not a psychiatrist, and so he doesn't diagnose those disorders. So what I'm proposing is that rather considering that depression is a disease, or that depression is caused by some underlying chemical imbalance, that depression is a normal human emotion, a normal response to all kinds of environmental factors. As that comment had pointed out, well, there's a million things in our lives that could cause us to be feeling depressed. And certainly we have lots of videos on the channel, in addition to tons of other resources that you could find, looking at different environmental factors in our lives, at work, in our relationships, in our physical health, all of these different things that may be causing us to feel depressed. But if we stop thinking of depression as a disease, as something that's afflicting our body or infecting our body, then depression becomes something that we can address and that we can alleviate, something that we can evaluate our lives, evaluate things that are happening to us or the way that we're perceiving things, or maybe just the way that we're reacting to things. And by really looking at that and really in some ways being very critical of ourselves and really taking responsibility for ourselves, that we actually can alleviate our depression and without the use of drugs. In a future video, I'm going to look at some of the other comments that you guys have left for me, and I'm going to look at how they relate to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And going back to that idea of improving our quality of life and trying to alleviate our depression, what we can learn from Maslow's hierarchy of needs to help us do so. And in another video, I'm going to share some research that I've done on the placebo effect, especially the placebo effect in relation to antidepressant drugs. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope this information was helpful. Please leave me a comment with any other questions that you may have. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to subscribe to Psychetruth.
If you liked this video, we have hundreds of more alternative videos ranging from sexual health to psychology to mind control. So if you liked it, go ahead and click on me to enter the Psychetruth channel.